Hey, good evening. Welcome to the Brothas-in-law. If you're new to our channel for your very first time, on this channel, we discuss police involved incidents that occur around the country, and we give our analysis on the actions of those police officers to see if their actions are what a reasonable officer would do. We also look at the actions of the citizens to see if they have followed our acronym of CALM, which stands for comply, answer questions, listen, and move on. Would their situation have turned out differently? Now, you may agree with this, or you may disagree with this, but our hope is by the end of the video, you get a better understanding of how these incidents unfold. If you're new to the channel, Mike and I are both former law enforcement police officers. I was a Virginia State Trooper for 7 years, and Mike is a retired police officer, 26 years from Pleasanton, California. And so before we get into tonight's video, please go ahead and take a moment to hit that like, share, and subscribe button for us. Doing so helps us keep in line with the YouTube algorithm. So if you like it, that's saying, hey, maybe other people like it, and that will put our videos on their timelines. And again, if you like the content of this video, please leave us a comment below, whether you like it or dislike it. Give us some positive or negative feedback, and so we know how to better improve our show. So welcome, Mike. Welcome everybody to the show. We got a good one lined up tonight, Mike.
Yeah, we got a real good one, interesting one. Something to talk about, discussion. We got a few coming down the pipeline that might be big, but yeah, this is a good one where we can talk about. A lot of people have questions about, the use of the taser and how officers use that taser, and whether or not the taser can be deadly, whether or not the taser can cause someone to die, for lack of better words, So we're going to talk about that and get into that based on our training and experience on the job, and give you our opinions. And we welcome the comments and opinions of the viewers on here. I see you, Anthony, Tone. I see you. Jesus love you. I see you, Stacy. I see you. Appreciate you guys joining us, and we're going to show this video and have a good discussion about what's going on.
Yeah. So this video really gained traction, I want to say maybe about a week ago. In fact, my mom, who's not on here yet, she'll be jumping on here in a little bit, had called me and asked me if I had seen it, because she had just saw this incident on the nightly news channel that she watches. And I said, no, I haven't seen it yet, but she, trying to explain it to me. And, it always looks bad when you see it on TV in front of news media, because it seems like they just show you that piece of it that's just going to get your attention and get your emotions high. And then you've already generated your opinion of what happened before you've seen the whole video come out. And so that's where Mike and I kind of come in and just like, hey, let's wait, let's pull back a little bit, pull back on the reins, and let's slowly peel this onion back to see what we got in the center. Because if it's wrong, Mike and I will say it's wrong. If it's good, we'll say it's good. Did they violate any type of policy or policies that we had as officers? Because everybody's policies across the country in each police department is a little bit different. And so we look at that. But at the end of the day, it really boils down, what would a reasonable officer do in these types of situations? Are those, like I said in the opening, are those actions of the police officer or what a reasonable officer would do or should do in these situations? So it took place in Los Angeles. Actually, I think about the beginning of this month, but the video actually hit the streets probably about a week ago. Young man was resisting, say what it was, resisting arrest, was tased, and then ultimately died a few hours later. Now, was it because of the tase, or was it because he had something in his system? Well, that can be debated. Or we're just giving our analysis, whether right or wrong. We're giving our professional analysis, what we would have done if Mike and I were called to that call for service. And I believe this is an accident. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mike.
Yeah, it was an accident, traffic accident, and this young man was apparently one of the drivers involved in this particular accident or vehicle collision, and he had fled the scene, left the scene. And as you'll see in this video, um, clearly something's going on with him where he's not acting rational or thinking rational about what has taken place.
Right. Yeah, that's key. So we'll break it down. We'll stop it. We'll do our usual commentating on analysis on it, and y'all chime in. Let us know what you think. I ain't Carol. Welcome. And let us know what you think. Tasers are good. I have no problem with tasers. However, we didn't carry tasers. That's why when you hear me give my analysis a lot, I say I will draw down and walk. My escalation of force is a lot different than what Mike had. Mike had a little more tools around his bike than what we had at State. I may have to go hands on a lot more than what Mike did because Mike had tasers. We did not carry tasers, right? So our tactics are going to be a little bit different when it comes to use of force. But we're going to get into it. Like I said, this. Let me go ahead and set it up actually here. This occurred a few weeks ago in Los Angeles. I think it was a 2 or 3 car crash, Mike.
Yeah, it was like a 2 or 3 car crash. It was more It was more involved than just this person and one other car. I think it was 3 cars altogether.
I think it was 2 or 3 cars. So the gentleman gets out and takes off running, and the police pursue him, and you'll see how it unfolds. So we'll go ahead and get it going. And it's pretty lengthy. I cut most that started like pretty much halfway in the middle. There's a police captain, public affairs officer. She's giving her introduction. So I kind of skipped over a lot of that. So let me get back over here to it. So here we go. This picks up with the officer on his motorcycle trying to make contact with this individual.
Yeah, and this officer gets flagged down, if I'm not mistaken, from citizens.
Right.
Talking about this guy. That was a citizen pointing to where this person is.
The driver? Get off to the side here. Get on the street. Hey, stop right there. Get up against the wall.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Get up against the wall. Get up against the wall. Get up against the wall real quick.
Please.
Okay, hold on a second.
Please, sir. I didn't mean to, sir. Please.
Hold on.
Please.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Mary 156. Show me code 6 on a TC not involved.
Please.
We're gonna be Venice, west of Lincoln.
Oh my God.
Bodyweight driver. I get additional units, please.
The car.
Keep in mind,
Okay, what happened?
This guy
I lost
fled
my
the
key.
scene of
You
the
lost
accident.
your key.
Yes. I came and I had somebody fix my car for me, sir. Please, don't, please,
Okay,
sir.
do me a favor.
My-
Sit
hey,
in
please.
the, hey,
Sir, please.
sit down on your butt and sit with your legs crossed.
What?
Sit with your legs.
I gotta stop something real quick, Mike. His first thing, he said for a possible DUI. Now, DUI doesn't necessarily mean that they're drunk. It just means driving under the influence of something. I just want to make that clear because a lot of times when people hear DUI, they automatically think, he's drunk. Now, something that's a red flag to him. Why? And he actually made contact. The guy waved him down, right? And then he got over to where the accident was, and then they said, no, that's him over there. So that's why he ended up taking off at the guy on foot.
Now, keep in mind, for our viewers, this is what this officer is facing right now up to this point. This is a guy who was involved in a traffic collision, who clearly took off from the scene of the collision, had already run away, was getting ready to keep running until the officer's trying to coax him to stay in one position. So that's why he's telling him to sit down. He don't know what's going on with this guy. Up to this point, that's all reasonable actions by the officer, in my opinion, yeah, I want you to sit down because clearly you're trying to walk away. You already walked away from the traffic collision. So I need to control you and I need you to sit down for me. So that's reasonable.
Yeah, that's definitely reasonable. All right, here we go, yo.
Cross. Sit with your legs crossed.
They're gonna try to kill me, please.
Who's trying to kill you?
I had a stunt today.
What?
I had a stunt today, sir.
You
I
had
need to.
You had what?
A stunt. Like, no, that's a car.
Okay, what car were you driving?
BMW.
The BMW.
They're trying to put stuff in my car.
Who's trying to put stuff in your car?
They're gonna try to.
So 7 minutes later, he gets up and tries to run away.
Stay down for me. Hey,
Please.
hey, stay
Please.
here. Stay here.
Sir, I need
Stay
some water.
here.
You think we get some water? Please.
Stay here. I'll get you some water here in a second, okay?
Please.
Just have a seat up against the wall there,
Yes, sir.
okay? Have a seat against the wall.
Sir.
Have a seat against the wall here.
Everybody got to see me, sir.
Have a seat
I don't want
against
to
the
be in the
wall
black.
over here.
I want people to see me.
Sure. Okay, you can sit
Please.
right there then. If you want to be seen,
I don't
sit
wanna
right
sit
there.
No, I don't want to sit right there.
Sit right
Please.
there if you want to have somebody see you.
Please.
Okay?
But clearly something's
Just
wrong.
sit down
with
for
this
me a
guy.
second here.
Some
Okay?
mental issues.
Sit down
going
for
on.
me. Sit down.
Either he
Put the thing
high,
on me.
Sit down.
Like
I'm
you
not
have
putting
some
anything.
mental
Come here.
issues.
Sit down over here.
Please.
I don't want you in the road. Come here. I don't want you in the road. Come here.
Please.
Come
Can't
here.
let it hit the road. You don't want to get hit
Come
by
here.
a car.
Please. Please.
Right.
Come here.
So right here, Mike, and y'all tell me what y'all think. At this point, I'm thinking I already know. As soon as he gets up, I already know what he's getting ready to do. And he's getting really antsy like that, not wanting to sit back down, not listening to your commands. If it were me, I would go ahead and snatch him up, put him in handcuffs for his safety. Try to get him so he does not run. What say you?
Completely reasonable response. The guy is clearly not trying to stay where this officer is telling him to stay. Now you have an increased danger of him running into the street in front of other cars.
Right.
Okay. You as an officer, you have to take control of this person, of this situation, find out what's going on. Clearly, this guy is displaying bizarre behavior. He's not responding to anything that the officer is telling him in a rational way. You know what I'm saying? All this is de-escalation that this officer is trying to do right now. He sees this person is mentally unstable to some degree. So he's trying to talk calm as he can, trying to get this person to at least sit down, calm down, and explain what's going on. This officer is not able to do that at this point. So you tell me, viewers, up to this point, now we're going to go further, but up to this point, what do you expect this officer to do? What's the next steps? This guy is walking away from you. You clearly got to talk to him. He's clearly the subject of a traffic collision who ran away from the scene. Right out the gate, you got a crime right there. Okay? That's a crime right there by you leaving the scene of a collision. Okay? Technically speaking.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are our viewers? What are you going to do? I clearly see what you're saying, Corey. You got to go in cuffs now. Well, guess what? He's in a roadway now. You got to catch him. And if you catch up to him, you just might get into a physical confrontation with him.
And the thing is, I think also too, Jesus loves you, says cuff him. Carol says yes, detain him. And both of you are 100% correct. You need to detain him because
that's reasonable.
because
that's
you have to look at it this way too, Mike. If he doesn't gain control of him, one, we'll see the reason why he didn't. At that point, he takes off running. Two, what if he got struck by another car? Now, you as the officer are really going to be ridiculed because you're going to be, well, why didn't you detain him?
Yeah.
Had you detained him, he
going
wouldn't
through
have
my
got hit
mind.
by a car.
Yeah. Yeah. These are the things that are going
So,
through an officer's mind at this point of, okay, this is what I'm presented with. This is what is happening in front of me. Now I have to figure out my next step as an officer. All you guys are right. Stacy, you're right. Carol, you're right. Jesus loves you. You're right. Those are all reasonable responses. Am I not right, Corey? Those are
100%.
reasonable responses. Obviously, he needs to be detained. And clearly he probably needs to be in handcuffs because you don't want him to just get up and walk away again.
Yeah, and like you said a few minutes ago, I mean that's the reason why officers will always have you sit down with your legs crossed,
especially in this situation, because you don't know this guy is, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it was Carol said that he was really acting obnoxious. I mean, you could tell something was wrong with him, and just listening, and that's another key point we have to listen to, everybody, is what is he saying? He's saying somebody's trying to kill him. He's saying somebody was trying to put stuff in his car, right? These are the type of things you have to listen for and like, okay, something's not right. Okay, what's going on? Because a lot of times, go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just going to say, with that anxiousness that he's showing, that possible paranoia that he's showing, that's another thing. As an officer, we're thinking mental health too. You know, could he be having some kind of psychotic breakdown, or could he be just high on something that's causing him to behave this way? Could he have smoked too much marijuana that gave him the paranoias and got him all paranoid on what's going on?
Right. Or what was laced in that marijuana. I mean,
and because but also a key thing here, Corey, that we get a lot of viewers talking about, even though we're presented with a possible mental health problem, you still have to take control of this person in this situation, whether he's got a mental health issue or not. So in other words, a mental health issue doesn't excuse behavior in this situation, because you still got to get control of the situation. You still have a traffic collision to investigate. You still have a possible crime with this guy fleeing the scene of an accident. And you have a possible crime of him being DUI, driving under the influence of something.
Right.
So there you go.
Not necessarily, alcohol, and that's why he called for additional units. And you're probably saying, well, it's just one guy. Why do you need additional units? I can tell you, when somebody may be under the influence of something, their strength is equivalent to 4 or 5 men. I've told this story numerous of times. I'm not going to get into it, but yeah, having fought somebody on the side of the road that's high on narcotics, man, that's a hell of a fight, and I don't wish that fight on nobody.
I agree. It certainly feels like they got the strength of 5 men,
right?
Sometimes,
right.
So
right, and you just you always want additional units. Unfortunately, where I was on the roadway, it took a while for people to get to me. We went hands on. So what did you do? Some things that probably were questionable. You damn right I did, because it's just me and him, and I'm on that dark ass road, and nobody's. I don't know where anybody is. I called for backup, and I don't know when I had to do what I had to do. I'm going home. Matter of fact, I was on my way home. So that's the reason why you always request for additional units, because you don't know what that individual has inside of them.
All right. Now this is what you're presented with, viewers. So I want you to start thinking along those lines of what your next step would be if you were the officer in this particular scenario. All right,
here we go, y'all.
All right, you got to elevate your
contact. Turn over on your stomach right now.
You got to pick it up a notch.
Turn over on your stomach right now. Yeah. Turn over. Yes. Turn over.
Yes, sir.
Over on your stomach. Get over on your stomach.
Okay, please. Please don't do this. Please don't.
All right, let me stop right there. Now, here's another question for everybody. So if I sit there and you're barking commands at me, Mike. I have my hands up, and you telling me to get on the ground, get on my stomach, and I don't do nothing. Am I compliant?
No, you're not compliant.
So
just because you got your hands in the air doesn't mean you're compliant.
So would it be safe to say, ladies and gentlemen, this gentleman was still not being compliant, even though he's sitting there with his hands up saying, okay, okay, okay. He's not listening to commands. So what say you all? Was he being compliant or was he not being compliant? Think about what your next steps are, like Mike just said. Love to hear your comments on that, y'all.
Go ahead, see, in the media, I know we got to keep it rolling, but in the media, the only part I've seen on this video is the actual physical altercation between the police and this suspect. You don't see what happened that led up to this contact. You don't even see what happened as to the reason why these police are even contacting him. You know what I'm saying? You don't see all of that. You know,
no,
which
you don't.
Things into context. Why this officer at this point now is elevating his orders, his command. He's elevating his contact with this person. He's got to kick it up a notch now. It's no longer, hey, it's all right. I just want to find out what happened. We're not at that level anymore. This guy has changed that.
Right. Yeah. You could tell the difference in his voice from when he was nice and subtle. And see, this is why you put him in handcuffs. You go ahead and detain him. All right, we're gonna keep it moving for time's sake.
Don't do this, sir. Please help me, please.
You know what?
Help me, please. No, please help me. Help me, please. Please, 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 please.
Keenan, relax. Keenan, relax.
They're trying to get his arms behind his neck so they can handcuff him.
They're trying to kill me. Stop him, please.
All right, this is from another officer's body cam.
Hold on. We already have a unit helping you guys out, right? So give us a second. We're going to try to set everything up so that way no one gets hit and there's no other vehicles.
I think the guy up there needs help though, because the guy's trying to run away. The guy who's driving this car.
Let's go get him. Let's go.
American 156 coming.
Turn around.
Turn over. Over on your stomach. Get over on your stomach.
Hold on. Get down. Get down.
Please, sir. Please don't do this. Please don't do this, sir. Please. Help me, please.
You know what?
Help me, please. No, please help me. Help me, please. Please, please.
At this point, the priority is get this guy physically under control. Right now, he is not physically under control.
Watch out. Watch out. Watch out.
Watch out. Help! They're trying to kill me.
Hey, stop him or tase you. Stop him or tase you.
Milo's trying to kill me. I have stuff on YouTube.
Stop it or I'm going to tase you.
Yes, sir.
Stop it or I'm going to tase you.
Hey, please help me. Help! Help!
Stop it or I'm going to tase you. Stop it or I'm going to tase you. I'm going to tase you. Stop it right now. Stop it right now. Turn over. Turn over or I'm going to tase you. Turn over or I'm going to tase you. Turn over or I'm going to tase you.
Yes.
I can't. Watch your elbow, partner.
You're trying to do it for me. You're trying to do it
Stop
for
it.
me.
Stop it or I'm going to tase you. Okay, stop it or I'm going to tase you. Stop it or I'm going to tase you. Stop resisting.
Please.
Stop resisting.
Please. Please. Please.
It's very difficult to get someone's arms behind them.
I'm going to tase him.
Resisting like that.
They're trying to kill me.
Not easy.
They're trying to kill me. Help.
Stop it.
Help.
Stop it.
Okay.
Stop it.
Yes, sir.
Don't resist.
No.
Stop
Okay.
resisting. Stop resisting.
Okay.
Stop it.
Help.
Stop
Help, please. Help.
Do not
It
move.
really don't even sound like that taser is even effective on a taser.
Do not move.
Right.
Okay.
If not, I'm going to tase you again.
Okay.
I got one.
Okay. Help me.
Because he's not locking up. They look like they got a bad connection.
Stop it. Stop resisting.
Okay, maybe right there. Or maybe, who knows? That doesn't seem like a normal response to somebody that's being tased.
Yeah. I think this is a body cam for the last officer. We'll take a look at that, then we'll give
Hold on. Okay, please, sir, please don't do this. Please don't do this, sir. Please help me, please.
You know what?
Help me,
Let my
please.
hand go.
No, please help me. They're gonna kill me, please. Please.
Keenan, relax.
Please.
Keenan, relax.
Help! They're trying to kill me.
Hey, stop him. I'll take you. Stop him.
Relo's trying to kill me. I have stuff on YouTube.
Stop
it.
Yes, sir.
Stop it.
Clearly,
Hey,
he's out of
please
his
help
mind
me.
right now.
Help! These are actors.
I'm gonna tase you. I'm gonna tase you. Stop it right now. Stop it right now. Turn over. I'm gonna tase you. Turn over, I'm gonna tase you. Watch your elbow. Turn.
They're trying to charge for me. They're trying to charge for me.
Stop it, I'm gonna tase you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, stop it, I'm gonna tase you. Stop it, I'm gonna tase
Yes.
you. Stop resisting.
Please.
Stop resisting. Give me your arms.
Please.
Guys, all our viewers, to me, it looks like they're still trying to get arms behind him to tase but he is resisting and fighting from him getting his arms behind him.
Stop it.
They finally, there you go. They finally got a hold
Stop
of at
it.
least
Yes,
one.
sir. Don't resist.
No.
But look, this guy, he's pulling that arm away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stop it. Stop
They're
it.
having a hard time getting his hands behind him close enough to be able to cuff both hands together. That's the
Right.
problem.
Do not move. If not, I'm gonna tase you again. Okay, I got one.
Help me.
Okay. Here, hold on. Stop it. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. I'll put that. 14.45.
Reload did it. You think I killed Banks?
A portion of this incident was also
All right.
Okay.
And then the rest is they called rescue out there, and I believe 3 or 4 hours later he ended up passing away.
In the hospital, right?
Yeah, in the hospital. Now there was a toxicology report stating that he had allegedly had marijuana and cocaine in his system. So that explains some of the erratic behavior that he was displaying. He wasn't acting as a reasonable person would.
Right. There's your DUI aspect of it,
Right. There's your DUI aspect of it.
Tone says maybe he has a hard time comprehending. Well, yeah, he may be, Tone, but does that change what the officers have to do? No, it doesn't change anything. We still got to get you under control. We still have to get you detained because clearly you keep trying to walk away or run away from the scene. You are in a state of what looks like paranoia. So we still got to get you under control, Tone, even if you have a hard time comprehending, unless you don't speak English or something like that. We can't assume that you don't understand what we're saying. And even if we do think you are high or something to where you are not comprehending, well, we still have to get you under physical control, right, Corey? That doesn't change what we have to do as police officers.
No, it doesn't. And back to a few minutes earlier, Tone, we were just saying, like I said, for me, as I got on scene and I saw how agitated he was, once he got up from the initial contact, when he got up off the ground, that's when I would have went on hands and put hands on him, because based on our experience and interacting with citizens in these types of situations, we pretty you start to develop a sense when people are going to run. Here's another key indicator when we figure when guys are getting ready to run on us, Mike, and I know you've seen this before too. They'll start to pull their pants up because you know everybody like to sag. They'll start to pull their pants up. Now
that's what you know. This dude probably getting ready to try to take off on me.
Yep, they started, or they'll take their shoes off because you know they don't lace their shoes up,
or they refuse to sit down on the curb, even in situations where it's even not unreasonable for them to sit. They don't want to sit down because they want to get ready to take off on you. Or another one, Corey, and I know you've seen this. You're talking to them, but they're looking around as if to find avenues that they can take off that are open and clear for them to run. Yeah, that's another common sign that somebody getting ready to run from you.
So, Tone asked Corey, since your department didn't have tasers, what would I have done? I would have went hands on. I'd have got him. I'd have got him in handcuffs. In fact, that was me struggling with the individual in the roadway, minus all the other officers and minus a taser. Now you can figure I still got that dude in handcuffs. It was a citizen who saw us fighting in the roadway that stopped by and asked if he could help me. And I gave him some instruction what to do in order for me to gain leverage over this individual. And I was able to get him in handcuffs. So that was a hell of a fight. That fight only lasted 3 minutes, but I swear to God, that thing lasted I felt like an hour, 2 hours. We were out there. And I don't know what the outcome would have been if that citizen hadn't stopped by to assist me. It may end up resulting that I would have had to pull out my tool belt and beat him, or I don't say beat him. Forgive me for that, y'all. But to gain control of him, utilizing my ass. I wasn't going to use OC spray in that type of a situation because we were too close together. So those are the type of things you got to process too. Like, I can't use that. Do I want to use my ass? Because he could get that and take it away from me, or do I pull my service weapon out? These are all things you have to process in that little bit of time that you have. I mean, it just happens that quick. It's not like, when you think of escalation of force and using use of force, it's not like you got time to say, okay, well, he does this and I'm gonna do. You got to process that stuff really quick.
Right. It's not like you got a checklist in your hand in the middle of the altercation and you're saying, okay, use the force number 1, check. Use the force number 2, check. It doesn't work like that. You have a use the force. The word escapes me, Corey. You're from going from less lethal to lethal. Your continuum. But you can jump through that continuum if the situation dictates that. Okay. Very good comments by both Stacy and Tone. Stacy says, how long and how many times is too much to tase someone? And that's a good comment from Tone.
That's a good segue right there, Mike. Because now, folks, what I'm gonna do is pull up Mike's department policy, what they had for tasers, and we're gonna take a look at it. Let me know if you can see this. I try to blow it up. Am I still sharing? Hold on, what did I just do?
And if you can, I got it right in front of me. I'll read it to you. But very good question. This is a department policy. I'm gonna say this is an example of a department policy that whether or not LAPD has the same policy or if it's worded the same, I don't know. Okay. But this is an example of the department policy.
Can you see it, Mike?
Yeah, I can see it just fine. You just got to scroll down to there it is. I see it. Never mind. Yeah. Folks, we're looking at multiple applications of the conducted energy weapon. And I'm going to just read this real quick as you see it on the screen. This is an actual department policy of a police department in Northern California. Okay, it's online. You can pull it up at any place and time. Pleasanton Police Department. And if you are in your local area with your local police department, you very well may be able to access their department policy online too. This is simply online for everyone to see, everyone in the community to see and read for themselves. Okay. Conducted energy weapon is what we called a taser. Okay. It's a conducted energy weapon. Okay. Officers should apply the CEW, or we'll just say taser for the sake of this discussion. We should apply a taser for only one standard cycle. A standard cycle of a taser is 5 seconds. So if I hit you with that taser and I pull that trigger on that taser, I should only hold it for 5 seconds. That's one standard cycle. And then evaluate the situation before applying any subsequent cycles. So it doesn't prohibit you from applying subsequent cycles, okay? But you can only do one standard cycle at a time. You can't pull that trigger and hold it for 20 seconds. You can't do that, okay? Now, multiple applications of the CEW or taser against a single individual are generally not recommended and should be avoided unless the officer reasonably believes that the need to control the individual outweighs the potentially increased risk posed by multiple applications. Okay, so that's right out the gate. It's telling you we don't necessarily encourage you to use multiple cycles on a person. However, it's not completely prohibited. Okay, that depends on whether the officer generally believes that the need to control the individual outweighs the potential increased risk posed by the activation, posed by multiple applications. Okay, so it doesn't tell officers that under no circumstances can you not use several cycles. It just says we discourage it. It's not recommended, but if the situation dictates and you can articulate why you had to do that, then you're fine. Okay.
And I think that's key right there. The officer has to be able to articulate why he used it in that manner, right? So let's look at what this officer did here when we look at the video. So in my humble opinion, I don't think he used it in excessive, because I look at it as he used it every time he wouldn't comply. And seeing how tasers work and seeing how your body usually locks up and you become submissive. His body never did that, and he was still in the struggle. Now, and that's the thing with tasers, Mike, and again, you can elaborate more on this. Taser doesn't affect everybody.
Right. And it's not 100%. It doesn't work all the time.
Right. And those prongs, it looked like the kind he could just stick the prongs or stick the probes up to his body.
Right. And they call that dry
that way. So he had a thick hoodie on, so that might not have affected him the way it might have a normal person. Now, Mike, do you think, based on your experience in using a taser, what are the effects of that harming the individual with some type of illegal substance within their person? Did you guys ever say, hey, or is there a policy to say, hey, well, if you believe somebody to be under the influence of something, don't use a taser? I know you can't do it if they've been doused with alcohol or gasoline or some type of flammable liquid. Right. You don't use the taser.
It's discouraged. You don't want to do that. We also couldn't use the taser on someone who is running away. If they're fleeing from, right, we couldn't use a taser and shoot them in the back just because they're running away. You know, right, what I'm saying? Also, we couldn't use it, like, say, for an example, if someone was standing on top of a building or something, on top of a house or on top of a garage or something like that. Wouldn't be wise to use the taser because you don't want them to fall off the house, off the top of the house. You see what I'm saying? There is something in this department policy that talks about who it's discouraged on. And
I got it right here. I got it right here.
Considerations. Individuals who are known to be pregnant, that is. So an officer may not know that somebody is pregnant, but if you obviously know that they are pregnant, you are not supposed to use it. Elderly individuals or obvious juveniles. Keyword, obvious juveniles. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes a 21-year-old can look like a 16-year-old. Okay, so obvious juveniles and elderly people, individuals with obviously low body mass. Okay, individuals who are handcuffed or otherwise restrained. So if somebody's already handcuffed, there really isn't too many reasons why you would need to tase them. Now, I'm not going to say there's absolutely no reasons. There could be, but not commonly. You know what I'm saying? Once you're detained and you're cuffed and you can't hurt yourself or hurt somebody else, you're good to go. I don't need to tase you, you know?
Right.
So as you can see, the way department policies are worded, it still gives enough leeway for that officer to act and make the decision for themselves as long as they can articulate why they had to make that decision. You know what I'm saying? Another thing they consider in the policy, in this department policy, if the first application of the taser appears to be ineffective in gaining control of an individual, the officer should consider certain factors before additional applications of the taser, including, but not limited to, whether the probes are making proper contact. Probes may not be working. Maybe the two probes aren't contacting correctly. Whether the individual has the ability and has been given a reasonable opportunity to comply. That's important too. You know, you can't just tase somebody and say, put your hands behind your back, and a split second later, you're tasing them again. Give them an opportunity to put their hands behind their back, right? Or whatever you're telling them to do. Or a third one is whether verbal commands or other options or tactics may be more effective. So if they're listening to you and they're following commands, obviously you don't need to tase them. You know what I'm saying? So
which in this case here, he was not, even though he was okay, I'm sorry, whatever. You're not still doing what they're asking you to do. So you're not being compliant, right? So, you know, those of you who are new to our channel, Mike and I, we have an acronym called CALM, right? Which stands for comply, answer questions, listen, and move on. Now, it's kind of hard to follow that acronym if you're under the influence of something. But however, let's just say for all intents and purposes, he was not under any influence of anything, narcotics or alcohol, and he took off running. Right? What would the outcome have been if he would just follow the acronym of CALM? Would we be in this situation right now?
Whole lot less.
A whole lot less. I mean, I'm sorry the man lost his life. But at the same time, I mean, what did you expect these officers to do in this situation? We're not talking about every other situation, officer involved situation. We're talking about this one here. Each one is different. Like, you have to be able to articulate the use of force here, and I think he can articulate the use of force in this one.
Now it depends on what their department policy says.
Maybe depends on what their department policy is.
Right. Maybe their department policy says something slightly different to where you can only tase someone for a total of 3 cycles. I don't know what their department policy says. But I read you an example of one department policy. By this department policy, the question is, outside of this department policy that we just read you, assuming LAPD has the same kind of policy, same wording in their policy, would he be against this policy?
Right.
I would say
I'm sure
no,
it's probably some similarities to it.
Yeah. And I would say no, as long as he can articulate his reasoning for deploying or doing more than one cycle, more than 2 cycles. There is no magic number, really. I mean, there is something where, okay, if I gotta put 8, 9, 10 cycles, all right, clearly this is not working. We got to try something else. You see what I'm saying? So the question becomes, just like Stacy said, well, how many times is too much to tase someone? There really isn't a magic number for that unless a department puts that in their department policy. You know what I'm saying? The only thing that they stressed for us, Corey, was you couldn't tase someone longer than a cycle, which means you couldn't hold that trigger down longer than 5 seconds at a time. You know what I'm saying? That was important. But here's my problem, Corey. And you tell me what you think it is. Here's my problem. Could this taser have been a contributing factor of this person dying? Sure. But you know what? Pinning him down on the ground could be a contributing factor of him dying. If he had some pre-existing condition, if he had enough drugs or something in his system where maybe it was doing something to his heart or something, we don't know. Cops don't know. We're not doctors. All we know is we got to get you under control, and this is the only way we can do it right now. Me laying on top of you, pinning you on the ground could be a contributing factor of you losing your life later, in the hospital, by me simply pinning you to the ground, trying to kick cuffs on you. That pressure of me pushing your chest onto the ground, sure, that could be a contributing factor to it too. That's the problem that I have with police actions and use of forces, where the person later ends up dying and they say, well, you putting that control hold on him is a contributing factor of his death. Therefore, we're going to charge that officer with murder. Well, if I'm just doing something reasonable, which is I got to use force to cuff you because you are resisting me, and I have to use whatever force I feel is necessary to overcome your resistance in cuffing you, and you later have a heart attack at the hospital because I was laying on top of you on the ground trying to cuff you, well, guess what? I'm a contributing factor of you dying. You know what I'm saying? So that's my problem with those words. What do you say, Corey?
Yeah, and that's why we train to get them up as quickly as possible once they're detained. You have the situation under control. To Anthony's question here, if you have multiple officers on a suspect, can the officers cuff his ankles first to gain control? You can do that. You can. I would always try to get the handcuffs on his arms first. That way he can't throw punches or whatever. And then, because typically you'll have somebody try to get his legs crossed like this and pushed up towards his butt, or get his legs crossed and try to hold his legs down first and try to get those handcuffs on. And then if he's still being combative with his feet kicking and everything, then put restraints on his legs. It just depends on what you got, who has leg restraints with them. There's really no right or wrong way in that. What has to be done first, Tone? It's just a matter of, it's just always natural and an instinct. You're always trained to get the handcuffs on first. Then if you need further restraints, then you'll go back and add those.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Tone. As a patrol officer, we didn't routinely carry gadgets that are specific to restraining someone's feet. Not regularly, unless they were really out of control. We had something called a wrap, which is a system that basically wraps their body up like a burrito. But absent something like that, okay, we would, just like Corey said, we would try to have someone hold their legs down just so they ain't kicking and causing some kind of hazard to us with their legs, kicking their crossing their legs or pin them down on the ground while somebody else is trying to pin their upper torso down and get their arms behind them. When someone is really resisting and trying to stop you from getting their arms from up underneath them, or you're trying to resist and stop you from pulling their arms behind you, it's really difficult, Tone. It's not as easy as it sounds when someone is really trying to stop you from handcuffing. If you do this and you tuck your arms up under your chest and you land on your stomach, especially if you got somebody who's really strong, it's hard to get their arms behind you. You got to do other means to distract them, to let them loosen their grip. That's why you see sometimes officers might take a knee or something in the side, or use pressure points or something like that to push on the side of their neck or their clavicle here, the shoulder, or something around their arm to where you can inflict some kind of pain in an attempt for them to release their grip or their resistance. Pain compliance, right? And it is not hard. I've been in fights where you trying to pull someone's arms behind their back. I've been in fights where you could use a taser. I've dry stunned somebody before. Okay, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You know what I'm saying? It's not 100%. And when you are struggling on the ground, Corey, as you know, it's it's not something really easy to just, oh yeah, we just put your hands behind your back and that's it. It's a struggle.
Yeah, at this point, you have to understand and realize they're not being compliant at this point, and you know, a lot of these. I'm trying not to talk about the one incident that's gripping the nation right now, but you know, when you and I'm pretty sure you've heard Mike and I say on previous videos that we've done. You know, when you're going to take somebody in custody, it's never pretty. We like it to be easy or textbook. You know, hey, turn around, put your hands behind your back, no problem. You're under arrest. It doesn't always work out that way, right? And these individuals, when they have it in their mindset to run, they could care less about your policy, what you're doing. Their mindset is, I'm not going back to jail. But if I had to go back to jail, you're gonna have to fight me to get me to go to jail. It's just not pretty, and it's difficult being a law enforcement in today's time, because you're trying to be I mean, you can do this job, but you have to really be humble. You have to really be know when to dial it down and know when you need to go hard, but at the same time have that situational awareness where you know your limitations and you're watching out for that individual's safety as well. You're not just grounding and pounding on that individual and not worrying about, oh, am I hurting them, and this, that, and the third. You got to kind of have it's
true.
tough.
No, I see where you're coming from, and I definitely agree. You gotta know your limits. Number one, you can't get so caught up. Like I said, it would sound like everybody knows. We can mention it. That whole, was it Memphis? Those 5 officers apparently.
Memphis,
had a violent arrest, that a traffic stop turned violent. We ain't talking about it on the show yet, folks, because we're still waiting on more information before we give our opinion. I'd like to see the video. Because like we always say, Corey, a simple traffic stop should not end in you losing your life. Period.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's the key. So, you know, why were these officers called to this scene here? It was a crash. right? 2-3 car crash, right?
Right.
Now, once he started down his path, that crash is now gone. That is irrelevant now.
Yeah, the second yeah, it's on the second shelf. Well, it's not a priority anymore.
It's on the back burner for lack of better words.
Yeah,
it's on the back burner, right? Now we have more a serious situation here. You're being combative, you're running, you're resisting. Now we had to deal with this. Is a whole separate charge, right? Because now you're going to deal with this. Now I'm talking as if the young man hadn't lost his life. Now you're dealing with more serious charges on this end, and the car accident now will be your secondary charges, right? So a lot of people are saying, these things are happening all because of a traffic stop. No, it's all because of the actions of that individual is why this individual either got severely hurt by the police or ended up losing their life by the police. It's not because you got stopped because of a broken tail light. No, because if I stop people with broken tail lights, you got a ticket. I wasn't fighting you.
Right.
So there's always more to that. So it's not the traffic stop is not the reason. The reason because you fled.
Yeah.
Right.
It is him being in a collision is not why he lost his life. It's his actions after the police contact that caused that. But again, Corey, like you say, could the taser have contributed to his death? Maybe. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. But the question is, should a taser have been used on him? Do I see something in this situation that seems unreasonable for this officer to use a taser at all? No, I don't see anything unreasonable. Again, if I'm following my department policy, I would tase you in this particular situation when you're not complying and I'm having to wrestle you. 3 guys or more are having to wrestle you just to handcuff you, and we're not making any leeway. Would I tase you in this situation? Would I drive stun you in this? We call that drive stunning, where you actually put the taser gun right up on the person that you're tasing. Yeah, I might do that. So I can't really say that's unreasonable. You know what I'm saying? Even though it's possible that can contribute to his death. I don't know if that contributed to his death. I'm only doing what I feel is necessary to get you under control.
And I think that's key right there. I think what we have to remember and what these officers have to remember is that you need to use the amount of force necessary to detain that individual. And I think that's where a lot of these officers lose it because they forget, it's if you haven't been in these type of situations, you can easily lose that sight because you let your adrenaline get the best of you and you start pulling in your emotions into that fight.
Yeah.
And you have to know when it's over. For me, I always knew once I got cuffs on you, we were done. When I got cuffs on that individual, I got up off of him because at that point I had to get myself together. And that's when everybody start, coming on scene and everything, and they went and dealt with him. Now at this point, I had to get myself because my adrenaline's through the roof. My hands are shaking. As an officer, you have to know when to draw that back. For me, I think my years of training in the military, being in combat, and having done things that the average person doesn't have the opportunity of doing or going through, that comes in to the police force, has that experience to be able to know when to draw back that adrenaline and say, oh shoot, I can't do that. What we always say, you got to keep your head on a swivel. and you got to know when to dial it back. Because at the end of the day, we had to treat these, even though these are, not this gentleman here, but even though we deal with criminals and murderers every day, you still have to treat them as a human being.
Absolutely.
You
as
the officer,
like everybody else.
Right. You as the officer still have to have some type of compassion, even though you think they're the worst thing in the world right now because they did some heinous type of a crime. You still have to treat that individual as a human being and with some type of dignity. And we all know they don't deserve nothing because of what they might have done. But officers need to learn how to do that. And I just think that just comes with experience. I think it also comes with you as a character. What is your character as a person? I wish everybody, I wish there were, officers like you and I might, cut from our mold and others like there are good officers out there. I just think these young guys out here have to know when to dial it down. You can't let your adrenaline, you can't let your emotions get the best of you.
Now, I don't know what's going to happen to these officers in this particular incident, in this confrontation. I know that they're saying you hearing a lot in the media stuff saying that he tased them too many times. 6 times in a matter of a short period of time. Depends on what the department policy says and how he articulates why he felt he needed to do that. To me, the only thing that's arguable, I'll say, is the use of the taser as far as how many times he tased him. I'm not saying that that's wrong, but I'm saying that if there's anything that I could think of, if I'm forcing myself to find something that's arguable about how these officers handled the situation, it would maybe be using the taser. 6 times he tased him 6 times, but looking at the video at the same time, I can't really say that it's necessarily unreasonable for him to have done so. You see what I'm saying?
Right. I believe if after the first volt, he might have, if he would have complied, like, oh shoot, let me stop, and just surrendered himself, then it wouldn't have escalated more. But no, I think I agree with you. I mean, like Jesus Levy says nothing should happen to him, in his opinion. I kind of agree with you. I mean, now we don't know their policy. We don't know the LAPD's policy and what they determine is excessive or not. But could this officer articulate why he did what he did? I think he can articulate why he did what he did in this incident here.
I think so. Like I said, unless the department policy says you can only tase him twice.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. But outside of that,
it's just a policy violation. I mean, would he need to be fired for that because you violate? No, you probably definitely need to have some retraining, but to lose your job on that because you can't. That's where the doctors come in and the scientists have to come in and say, yeah, that the taser contributed to his death, or how much did the cocaine contribute to his death? Did the marijuana contribute to his death? I mean, we know, what does cocaine do to your heart? Right? It's going to raise your heart rate up. It's going to cause your adrenaline to go up.
But see, that is just it. I mean, when you say these things, a lot of things could have contributed to his death.
A lot of things,
including being tased. So, but that doesn't mean that the officer was unreasonable or wrong for tasing him. It just means, that contributed to his death, along with C, D, E, F, G contributed to his death.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But like I was saying earlier, Corey, I could be pinning you down on the ground, trying to get your hands behind your back, and all of a sudden, when you get to the hospital, you die. And
Yeah.
they say, well, it's over exertion of your heart or whatever. I'm just throwing loose words out there. Again, we're not doctors, but you can make the argument, well, he wouldn't have died had you not gotten to a scuffle with him. Well, yeah, that's probably so. You see what I'm saying? Where do you draw the line right there? That's what makes it difficult, I think, about being a police officer or being in law enforcement today. And you get into pretty much any use of force where someone ultimately ends up dying, is now you are saying, well, shoot, I could be charged with murder now simply because I laid on his chest. You see what I'm saying? Trying to handcuff him, or because I tased him and he died. Now what? I'm responsible. I'm being charged with murder now. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. You know what, Corey? That's the way things seem to be going these days. And that's
definitely dangerous.
Challenging.
Yeah, and in my opinion, I think that makes it dangerous because now you're going to have officers, like we said before, second guess themselves on whether or not what they should be doing. And the thing is, these criminals realize this. They realize this, and this is why some of them do the things that they do, because they know certain officers aren't going to go after them or aren't going to use the tasers, and they're going to fight you back.
Yeah.
Now, is it talk should officers have tasers now? We need to revamp the procedures on how to use tasers. You can only tase once, and if they don't comply, then that's it. Okay, then what am I going to use? Then what's next? You want me to throw bean bags at them? What? You know what I mean? What's next?
That is the challenge.
I don't know either. It is a challenge. So
yeah, that's the challenge that all law enforcement faces is trying to make the community comfortable with the force that they're using. Now, obviously, some use of forces are way overboard, way abusive, all that stuff, too extreme. Like you were saying earlier, Corey, so there are some officers who need to understand and learn when they need to back off. You know what I'm saying? Some use of forces is way past necessary. What is necessary? Some use of forces are way past outside of department policy, and that's when you're gonna get into trouble. You see what I'm saying? That's when you go. This is a good scenario. I'd be interested to see what happens in this deal. You know what I'm saying? And we'll see what's up.
Yeah. Yeah, let me see. We got a couple comments coming. Come on, keep them coming. My mother says all that will come out on the camera report tomorrow after 6 p.m. Sad situation. Are you talking about?
Yeah, I think she's talking about that Memphis.
Yeah. That's definitely a sad one, and I can't wait to do that one, Mike. I ain't gonna lie to you.
And Tone makes a good comment about that. Why bother? I definitely see that view, Tone, and a lot of these officers today. It's like it ain't even worth it. You know what I'm saying? The guy does a misdemeanor crime. Am I going to get into a physical altercation with him for a crime that doesn't have a victim per se? You might have some officers that say, it ain't worth it, and let the dude go and don't even bother with it. You know what I'm saying? That's possible. Mm-hmm. Although that's not, that's a bad thing because we're going in the wrong direction. If police are intimidated to enforce laws, you know what I'm saying? You got a problem, right? But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. Jesus Love said many years ago, when a person didn't comply, they were shot dead. That was long ago. Yeah, I mean, back in the day, in the Wild West days, you didn't comply, you want to listen, they just shot you dead.
But unfortunately, that may be the case of some country bumpkin type city today. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'd like to think not. I'd like to think that doesn't happen anymore, no matter where you go in this country. But I don't know. I don't live everywhere in this country. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, now you can go to other countries and it's going to happen.
Yeah, there's some other countries where you definitely will get shot.
They have very low crime rate. Some yeah, but you don't know their laws. They'll shoot you dead where you stand. And that's the rapper. They just go ahead and throw you in jail without no due process, and they get to you when they get to you. So it's a sad situation here. I'm so sorry this young man lost his life.
Absolutely.
But it's. I mean, again, I think it's another black eye on law enforcement to a point, not a use of force, but they're just going to get the black eye because of the situation, anyways.
Oh yeah.
It's just, I think, what do you do? What do you do? Like you said, like Tony said, why bother? I agree. Well, why bother? You get to a point like, screw it, let him run. If he gets hit by a car, he gets hit by a car. We'll come clean him up off the road after he gets, hurt or killed by getting hit by a car. That's where you are. Why pursue after them? And that's probably what they'll probably end up doing. I think Chicago is one of the cities that done that, where the police have a no pursuit policy. If they're running, the cops can't run after them.
I've heard that.
They take off running and okay, there you go. So
there's some cities where if it's anything less than a felony, there's no pursuit. They just don't allow it anymore. You know what I'm saying? None at all.
So what do? Your crime rate's gonna go up because you don't think these criminals talk to each other and say, hey, they can't get you now. So you go rob a store up to $1,000 and it's still just a misdemeanor. You get a ticket, show up to court if you do, but you just walk up with $800-900 worth of merchandise from these stores. What do you want? What do you want? You want anarchy or you want law and order?
Yeah, good question. Perfect example of that is, I recall there were some stores in the city that I worked. Their policy was to not apprehend any shoplifters at all. You know what I'm saying? They just didn't do that. And you think the shoplifters didn't know that? Well, they knew that. That's why they would go in there every day and steal stuff right in front of their face, wouldn't even try to hide stuff because they knew that they had a policy where they don't apprehend them. So them thieves went up there, grabbed stuff off the shelf like they was shopping at Safeway, shopping at the grocery store, like didn't care who was looking. They had their empty bags with them and was just loading their bags up like, what you gonna do? Looking at them at the store, people are like, what you gonna do? Nothing. You know what I'm saying? And walk right on out with the stuff all the time. Happen all the time. So
And yeah. So I mean, we have a lot to do. Tone says, do you think? Let me put it up on screen. Do you think all this is part of cancel culture? I think it has something to do with the tone. I think a lot of people are getting in positions where they're starting to care, it seems as though, more about the criminal than the citizens. I do believe there's work that needs to be done in the judicial system. 100% totally in agreement with that. But softening your crime doesn't help your situation. Yeah. Right. It doesn't help it. In fact, I believe it entices them more. And we're seeing it here in some of our cities here in the 7 cities here. You got we call them Commonwealth attorneys here. You call them district attorneys out your way, Mike. They're picking and choosing what they want to prosecute. And a lot of times, and what you're going to see now happening is a lot of these attorneys, and I'm talking on the state side, the city side, the locality side. They're not trying these cases. They're more, let's make a plea deal. Let's make a plea deal. He'll plead guilty to this, whatever, and minimum to no jail time, probation, and they're gone. And you have to ask yourself the question, well, who's being affected by this? Well, your citizens are being affected by it because they're not really getting real justice. So it's a lot that needs to be done, I would say, on it, but you can't go soft on it. You got to, if you got the laws on the book, enforce the laws. All right, let's revamp some things. I'm 100% on that. But there's something, but going soft on it when criminals get to talking, and they talk, Mike, and say, hey, you can do this now. They can't do this, because it will frustrate me as a law enforcement. No sooner did I arrest Timmy down the street, 3 hours later, Timmy right back out on the street, and the ink on the paper is still wet, and he's back out on the street committing crimes again. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. And so we
and I see you, Jesus love you, about that Illinois thing. Like secondary murder, they don't detain you any longer on stuff like that. We talked about that on one of our past shows, that we mentioned something about that. And that's crazy. And Blackjack said it's the bucking of authority. Yeah, I think people, especially today, people don't like authority. They don't like to be told what to do. When they're stopped by police, they unfortunately, they automatically look at the police as the enemy. You know what I'm saying? They look at them as, you can't tell. Their first instinct is to be argumentative and not believe what the officers are telling them. That's their first instinct. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's not just to, yes sir, no sir, give me the ticket, and I'm out of here, or I understand I'm under arrest. It's, why are you arresting me? And I'm not going to comply until you give me a good reason why you're arresting me. You see, that's what you have now. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They because in their opinion, the reasons are not good enough for you to be stopped or detained or arrested, then they don't have to comply. I think that's the mentality that a lot of people have nowadays, is I don't have to comply with what that officer is telling me to do, because I don't believe he or she has a good enough reason to do what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? If I stopped you and I explained to you why, and you decide, well, that's not a good enough reason, officer, I don't have to do what you want to tell me to do. That's not how it works, folks. You know what I'm saying? You argue that in court, not on the street. But you're right, Blackjack. I think you have too much of that bucking of authority now, where people are quick to challenge the authority on the street instead of in the courtroom. They rather fight on the street than argue in the courtroom. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's a big problem.
Yeah.
But
all right, y'all, we're going to wrap this up.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at the time like, man, we went way past the time that we normally do, but it's cool. We had a good
all right. That's all right. But we thank y'all for watching us this evening, and we hope you got something out of this. Please leave us a comment below and let us know what you think about this. If you like the content of this video, you'd like to see more like this, and give us honest feedback what you guys think. Please share this out, because I think it's a lot of knowledge was dropped in here tonight that people can benefit from, particularly the acronym CALM. Y'all share that out. Share the CALM acronym out. Comply, answer question, listen, and move on, especially to family members. And a family member is out there and ripping and running the streets. Hey, listen, don't run in front of police. Comply, answer their questions, listen, and move on. If you didn't do that, fine, you didn't do that. Nobody's telling you to submit yourself to the police, but be cooperative and have your day in court, as Mike just said. So we thank you all for watching us. We'll be back. Hopefully, we'll be talking about the Memphis, Tennessee incident. So please share that out, and if that video does come out, please send it to us on Facebook. We like to get different sites of it, so we can get different points of views of it, and we'll talk about that one next week. So y'all have a great weekend. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button, whatever you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, and share this out and get everybody here next week. Let's have a nice turnout and have a great discussion about the Memphis, Tennessee incident. Mike?
I challenge all of our viewers, anybody who has access to the internet, I challenge you to go on the internet and look up your local police department and find if their department policy is posted online for you all to see. That's something that I think a lot of people don't know. Your department may have it, they may not have it. I don't know. Our department that I worked for, you have that on the internet. Anyone can pull it up and see the whole department policy. Pick any subject you want to learn about and see what that officer, what their department policies are. So I challenge all our viewers to go find your local department's, police department's department policy online. Okay, thanks for joining us, y'all. Blackjack, Carol, Stacy, Tone, Mrs. Taylor. Jesus loves you. We see you. We appreciate you guys joining us and tuning in. We see you next time.
We'll see y'all next week. We love y'all. Peace. God bless you.